In performance, what you need is often invisible. We will explore Brahms Intermezzo Opus 118, number 2, and see how the music combines many invisible connections. Written in 1893 and dedicated to Clara Schumann, this gorgeous expressive piece has been a favorite over the years. You heard the transcription by Bright Sheng with Gerard Schwartz and the Seattle Symphony. Now, try to imagine, what is Brahms saying? The melody line, connecting the beloved figure. Teneramente, tender, warm, expressive. So there are 3 notes. We might say, looking here, looking there. I called it the beloved figure because in working with Dorothy Taubman, she always identified the thematic material as something beloved. She felt that it was endearing to the composer and that the way that he looked at it was something that he wanted to pass on for eternity. So I have these 3 notes, C sharp B D, and then C sharp B A, ascending the 7th for the larger one. There is an invisible spelling of Clara's name. It just came upon me, okay? And I will tell you how I related to it. C sharp B, A, G sharp A. That was first used by Brahms in Opus 9 in his variations on a theme of Robert Schumann. F sharp minor. Well, that's the relative minor that you'll hear in part B of this piece. All right. I fooled around with it, and I found that this beloved figure, the C sharp B, A, G sharp A, is right here. We have C sharp and B, and we have the A, G sharp underneath. So here's the love duet that we all know existed, even though there was 14 years between the 2 of them. And then we go to the A. And the same thing when we go to the A here. So for me, the beloved figure, as Mrs. Taubman would have said, is enciphered here in the opening notes. And the inner interval, as we know as musicians, that the chromaticism is tearful, it's sometimes traumatic, and so that's all blended here. And maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but I see somehow Brahms repeated this beloved figure 6, 7 times with different harmonies, and that's what I think blends this piece together well. Now we're going to get to the how-tos. So we have a legato top voice and the timing of the inner voice. There are 3 components for success here. The key speed, number 1, the forearm, hand, and fingers unit, number 2, and where do we aim? So, to get into this, I think there's this is number 2, and then into number 3. So, where are we going to aim? And what is key speed? So, if you just experiment with this, drop your arm in your lap. Just drop it. Just let it go. Okay? When you just drop it, it kind of smarts your leg. It hurts. Now, try to control the drop. And you'll feel that as you control the drop, you don't get that strident kind of ouch, okay? Now, as we go to play the piano, we can use the same concept. If I put a key down and I just go like this, fast, you can even hear what's going on with outside noise. So Dorothy Taubman was very, very big about not aiming for what we call the key bed. Okay? The key bed is the bottom of the key. So we want to make sure that instead we go to the point where the sound is created. The sound is created at what's called by the piano technician the escapement. You've probably all experienced it, and if you haven't, it's a whole world out there. Taubman actually called it the point of sound because that is actually where the hammers and the dampers click at that moment on the string. So if I look inside the piano and I play to the bottom to the key bed, I see, no matter what note I play, that there's no longer a connection physically between the damper and the hammer, where we have vibrations. So when we go back to looking about how we're going to play with this key speed, we have to control it. And if we want to know how to get more tone on the top, first experience it by itself. Do you like it? How much did you need? Did you aim for the key bed? Or did you go for the escapement, which feels like a little bit of a delay? Okay? It's like a click on the key. So as I did that for my melody note, okay, wherever it is, in the case of the opening of this piece, then I have to deal with the time speed of the inner note, okay? The inner note, I have to go slower and slower and slower in my mind for the descent. So when I go slower, I get softer. So it's kind of following the leader and the follower. What's happening here, besides this key speed, is that I need rotation. I just don't fall down, because in order to move across, as we all know, we have to have curvilinear and we have to have motions that are not only vertical but horizontal. So the only way to go is this. We're not angular like that, okay? So we're always moving like that. So as I play my first notes, I have prep, almost like I'd shake hands with the piano, and then I have a single rotation. I go in the same direction, it's called a double rotation. And then I have a new phrase, mark. So what I'm going to also do there is I'm going to use my forearm, hand, and fingers as a unit. I'm going to get a little bit of momentum, and then I'm going to walk in a little bit because my thumb is on a black key. If I don't, I will deviate here and do something like this. Oh, in the last minute, I have to go there. And you can see on the above camera that this is deviation, twisting, and leads to carpal tunnel syndrome. So we now know how to aim, and we know about the finger unit, and we're going to walk in. So I'm using 4-2 and 3-1. Now my phrase finished, but I have a bigger interval. So for the sixth, I can't keep the main knuckle, which is perfect for playing 5-finger passages. I have to do what Taubman called comb it out. Comb out your main knuckle, and your main fulcrum becomes your wrist. If I don't comb out this main knuckle, and I keep the curve that I'd need for anything that's just like in a pentascale, I'm going to feel like I can't open the hand. I'm going to try it wrong. And you see, I'm kind of pulling and tight, and I don't know what kind of sound I'm going to get. But if I feel like I did the double rotation for the second one, another double, and so you have to have different posture for different intervals. This is a very big topic, because if you don't, something doesn't feel great. It might feel okay. Now, We're going to talk about interdependence of the hands from here on out, because it's very important. There's a whole topic that Taubman said. Hands are independent, but they're interdependent. And how often we play a piece and it's like, that hand doesn't feel too good. Or a student might say, you know what, I played all right, but then I forgot that hand, okay? So this interdependence is a very important topic. The learning process at the keyboard involves vertical organization with a feeling of unity sensed between the hands. Interdependence of the hands. We're going to use examples from excerpts. The first one, passing from one hand to the other. The second, rolled chords. The third, which hand moves first. The fourth, polyrhythms. The fifth, same and opposite in and out locations. And the sixth, same and opposite phrase shapes. So together with Maya Kishimoto, we are going to do examples from each of those topics and get into them a little bit deeper as we go. The very first one, passing from one hand to the other. This is all about the inner voice. So Maya's going to play the very first upbeat and the first measure. And what we're talking about now, because I explained the theme, the intervals, and that part, we're going into the measure one with the inner notes. Good, fine. Okay, so now we want to deal with making sure that those notes are subtle and that they kind of match. Okay? Now, the two hands have something different going on. The right hand, if you played just on beat one, we have to hold the melody line, the D, right? So try that. Then stop right there, okay? Now, you have to finish the slur with the D and the thumb, right? Well, what does it have to do? It's going to be hard to get that tone on the D if some part of my limb isn't fluid. Do it again, and I'm going to kind of give her a clue. Now play D. Aha, what did I do? I moved your elbow. Why? When we have a broken octave, again, if I don't go along, when I get besides a larger interval than 5 notes, I get to 6, 7, 8, I can't be stagnant and locked in the elbow. It's very subtle. But now when we do this example, did you need that in the left hand? No, okay? So do it one more time, and then I'm going to share the next example. Excellent. Okay, thanks. Another example of this same idea happens to be in measures 25 to 28. And besides having the fluid elbow here, because I have the same situation in the right hand, I have to notice the overall picture when I'm working on a piece like this. And here I have. So my right hand, again, will need that fluid elbow. So you can practice it separately. Notice that my inner passing notes have a distinct tone and lighter. You wouldn't see it if I didn't point it out. What does the left hand have to do? Again, interdependence. The left hand has to go from one E to to the next. And he does it like a pedal point. So when I add it together, it's all about the timing. Because if I'm late for the E, that's the second one repeating. So I have to make sure that I do that. And then take that alone until you love the way it sounds. Has a smoothness and a fluidity, and you see how each of the hands had something else to do. The next one we have is rolled chords. Okay, rolled chords. The timing of this is very interesting because we're going to now explore the upbeat to measure 2. Great. Now, what actually happened there? Let's think about it. The thumb is the lower voice of the final part of the theme. Did you play it with the A? It's impossible. You didn't, right? Okay. So where does the thumb actually prepare to play? Well, according to Dorothy Taubman, many rolled chords have to be cued by the measure before. There really aren't something that's kind of all of a sudden smashed in. So I'm looking at the measure before, and didn't you, and try it again, didn't you think actually that after you played the right hand intervals, that you went to play the thumb? Yes, go ahead. Right, and it wasn't scary at all, right? Okay, good, thanks. Now I want to prove something else about this particular place. Okay, you can stay and then we'll, okay. So when we go a distance, it has the same kind of timing aspect. If I take my time going from the F sharp to the A, I might feel as though I'm going to kind of play that A with bad tone, or I feel haphazard. Instead, what we do is we move with a legato leap very quickly. It's actually a big single rotation, right? And just think in the right hand that as soon as you play this, silently could you get to the A. And go even faster. Yeah. So this is a wonderful tool for students whenever there are distances, because that way we can also identify with a beautiful tone once I get there to go down. If I wait to the very last minute, it might not be the sound that you want, and it also might make you nervous, right? Okay, thanks. Now, talking about rolled chords in part B. There aren't a lot in the chorale, but they're enough that we should think about it. So I have, that's one of them. Okay, and then, so what do? I do the same concept that we just did earlier in the opening. I feel as though I'm going to play da, da, the left hand 2 notes, and so the thumbs will be together. So these first 2 left hand notes are cued not by the left hand, by the right hand. C sharp. Now, this place is problematic. If you've taught the piece, all of a sudden the student looks and they're like, oh no, there's so many notes. I'm scared. I have something different to do. It's not like the rest of the piece. So I again identify with the core, the outside. And it's a chorale. And then the left hand does the same thing. They're still scared. Why? What's the middle note? And I can tell you, in working with Dorothy Taubman toward the end of her life, that was one of the things she said. I think I hit upon something. Always look at the middle note in chords, because sometimes the answer is there for location. It doesn't have something to do with tone, it's location, it's how we move. Well, what about here, the middle note? Well, haha, it's kind of funny. I tell the student all it is A sharp all the time, okay? So I cued that. Right hand is always over. Oh, you think so? Not when the flats come. That's where the left hand is going to be over. So all of this choreography is so really interesting and solves a lot of situations. Now we're going to go to the next one. Which hand moves first? Okay, so when we play, if we move one hand sooner than it actually has to play, if it has the time, it again gives us a feeling that everything is comfortable. So we're going to play the opening again, but this time we're going to play it, pay attention to which hand is actually getting there before it has to play. Okay, go ahead. Good. Now, let's go back. When you started, did you feel like your left hand moved quickly to the low A? Try it. So the left moved first. Keep going. Now the left moved again first. Now the right hand moved first. Now the left moves first. And then the right moved first. Okay? That's really something that became almost automatic for you, right? Because we've never said, oh, what's going to happen here? It doesn't feel right. Okay? Good. And there's another one that's a very similar place, but it's one of these places where if you don't really choreograph it, it could be a problem. So I'll tell you why. Measure 34. Looked like any other place, but if I stayed too long on my right hand, little collision. You get it? So here, I have to move my right hand first. Now I move my left. Move my left. And when you move right, you get beautiful tone too. Going to polyrhythms. It always is a topic, especially with Brahms, hemiola, and everything that he tried to put into the finished product. So the first one from this example, I'm going to show, because it's a place that I always sense, unless you hear a pro playing this piece, that it's a place where the timing and dynamics are a little bit off. So what's going to happen here is that the marking of the particular place, measure 65, has piano on the top. And it has no marking. You see how piano is above the notes? It has no marking for dynamics for anything else except it says espressivo, okay? So very often I'll hear somebody play almost like, well, here's the theme, but it's up one octave or something of that sort, or it's in the same place as it was when it started, but it's incomplete. It is incomplete. So really what happens, I'll do it in slow motion, is espressivo, which whenever you see in music that there's no dynamic mark and you see the word espressivo or something of that sort, that's giving you full license, full liberty to be passionate or express, so it's not rigid, it's not by a metronome. The composer did that on purpose. So here we have so that's really the theme, because it's in completion. So you really have the basis in the hidden espressivo. So I think that's very, very important in this place. Now we're going to go to the beginning of part B, F sharp minor. What I would like to do here is just review a very basic about the polyrhythm. First, look at the music with the student. Oh, so where is the polyrhythm? Here's bar 1. What beat? 1. What about the next measure? Is it on 1? No. I don't see any.
Yes.
What about this measure? It's on
2.
2 and 3. What about here? Again.
1, 2,
2 and, not 1,
Oh,
but
2
2 and
and
3. And what about the next measure?
2 and 3.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah.
See, he started with 1. Then he said, I like 2 and 3. I like it so much I do it again. And then I want it all. So the problem with the polyrhythm is we have to remember whatever hand has more notes, that's the hand that gets the numbers. 1, 2, 3 against 2. It's like 2 teams. The hand with the more people on the team, that's the numbers. And the poor hand with the less is like 2 people on the team. So we have to make sure that when you have the 2 people on the team, it goes after 1, 2, 3. It's the word So as you do it, I'm going to say the counts with you, okay? So hands together. This is again a place of interdependence. You can't be independent on this hand and that hand. They have to mesh, okay? 1, 2, 3. Good. Now 1, 2, 3. Good. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You got it. So in working this, it's very important for the 3 against 2 that I go 1, 2, 3. So it's like I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you can do it on the piano, you can do it in your lap. If you can't do it away from the piano, don't think that you can do it at the piano. Right? Okay, great. Thanks. The next topic, same in and out locations. So the first one is same. What happens here? In and out is a topic that was exclusively Dorothy Taubman. As we said in our earlier discussion, Leon Fleischer said in talking that Leschetizky talked about similar ideas. So did Tobias Mattei, and Taubman took it a step further. Rotation was the basis, and it always will be the basis of going across 88 keys. Taubman found that by not using in and out, meaning walking in to play the shortest fingers because of our different finger lengths, playing the shortest fingers on the black keys, very often, if we don't prepare it, makes us deviate, or her word was twist. To me, it's one of her greatest findings. I've read about other people and how they encompassed and developed piano technique, but this is one of the biggest causes of injury. As soon as I get a call, you know what, the doctor diagnosed me with blah, blah, blah. I could tell that very often it's lack of in and out, because all of a sudden we do some kind of thrusting, jutting motion that gets us out of alignment. Then the tempo goes, then the tone goes, then the feeling of I can play goes, and all of the above. So that's very important. So in this particular one, what I do in learning the piece is I would take a good look at where are my thumbs. So I said the same. So I have thumbs on black notes, thumbs on white notes. So I could do that silently, just to see. So my alignment, I'm always straight with myself. I'm not straight with the piano, I'm straight with myself. So here I go, black and white, switching for a moment, and then all back to the white. All white thumbs. Oh, black thumb and black going in. Now, there's also opposite in and outs. So in the next example, we had to just be aware. Where's it going? Where's the thumb? Because the thumb is about 2 inches shorter than our longest fingers. So therefore, we're just going to go with the flow. Okay, in or out. Good. So which hand was in to start, right or left?
Right.
Okay, so to show that. And the left was out, so they're opposite. Right is in again. Left is out again. Right is out and left is in. They're switched. Right? That helps with memory. It's like the color coding of it. Okay? And our very last is shape phrasing. The topic of phrasing with shapes is something Taubman said you're practically born with. Your first lessons at the piano, this is how you would always just feel shaping, curvilinears. So when we do this particular concept of shape, if you do the wrong shape, it just kind of feels weird. So usually we do the right shape, but it's intuitive, and it depends also on fingering. The shape for the same notes could change if your fingering is different than somebody else playing it. So I chose this place. I went like this, and then I went that way. Curvilinear, egg shape, low and over, okay? So as I did that, when I play, it just feels natural for me. I'm going to do the wrong shape. Do you see what's going on in my body? It just feels weird. So I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Okay? And now there's another example where we can do opposite phrase shapes. So what did you feel in the left hand as you did the longer slur?
Going this.
Yeah, so try it again. Right. So going uphill, your left went kind of like the top of a clock, right? Correct? And then coming back down the opposite. Okay? If you did the wrong one, it just won't feel right.
Yeah.
Okay? Good. So these are the topics, thanks. These are the topics that I wanted to share with you today. There's so many fine points that we could discuss as well, but I think that the one thing that keeps the glue together here is the concept that the hands are working together in partnership. That's what it's all about. We're playing two hands at the same time so often, and we have to make sure that we feel this unity. Not to forget that Brahms never forgot Clara, even in the coda. So we hear the melody and would play. But I want to remind do. So here we have it. C sharp, B, A, G sharp, So this was Brahms' sentimental love poem for Clara. Thank you.